Hello guys, this video is going to be a little bit different than other For Honor content out there. This time, we will be looking at For Honor's newest hero, Medjay, who has a completely different mechanic than all the other heroes that we currently have in the game, and see if he has a place in the current For Honor esports scene. This video will contain a few different parts. Part 1 will be who I am and why I am making this video. Part 2 will be the core of this video. For the last week, I have been reaching out to some of the most important people in the For Honor community and the competitive scene of the game. These people are professional players, coaches, content creators, and heads of some of the most important aspects of the competitive community. I had the chance to interview them about Medjay, some by text and some in a call, which I thank them all deeply for it, and asked them 5 questions about the hero and its future. For the third part, we will be concluding the video. What is Medjay? Where is Medjay? And most importantly, how is Medjay? I hope you guys will enjoy this video, which is a completely new take of the content about the game, at least that I am aware of. And I hope you learn as much as I did while I was in the making of the video. Without more unnecessary sentences, let's get right to the first part. As some of you already know, I played lots of For Honor. I have been playing the game since the open beta and I was playing on a PS4 at that time. This game had everything that I was looking for. Everything that I dreamt of a game having had combined into one big masterpiece. Or so I thought. Back in the day, For Honor was full of bugs and server issues and nobody knew how to play the goddamn game. Sadly, the game lost majority of the player base due to these problems. But not me and a friend on console and a couple hundred more. This game has earned me amazing friendships, maybe even the most beautiful moments that I've ever had in my high school years. I am tearing up remembering the amazing days writing this script. Since For Honor published the ranked game mode, I always used to be at the top. I know this does not mean much competitively, I am coming there. Grandmaster was not even a rank yet in the game and I was keeping a consistent Diamond 500%. Some of this competitiveness was due to my brother in a way. When I first bought For Honor, he said, "You will stop playing this after a month or two like you did with every other game." And to him I said, "I will be the goddamn best." I was the best in a way. Even after the Grandmaster rank was out, we were always top 10 with my Consolian friend Enderus09, who I will be meeting IRL for the first time next week. Maybe this is why I care so much about For Honor. A friendship of 5 years still goes on. Anyways, after a while, COVID-19 hit the world. The literal week the quarantine started in Turkey, where I live, I got myself a decent desktop PC. That was when I made my video I just switched to PC Buddy, which you can still find on my channel. I was so excited that after years and years of playing on console, I will not be playing the game on just 60, but 144 Hz. The first game I downloaded was For Honor. I loved it. Everything was as smooth as butter and I was the knife. Got Grandmaster again and said, "Man, I really am great at this game." To which I realized soon that it was not the case. I always heard about For Honor's tournaments, but I was still at the Nobushi Unlock Tech winner meme. I did not care about it much, but I found out by chance that the competitive scene was way deeper than that. So I decided to create a meme team, including a random but awesome dude I found in game, another random but awesome dude I found in the For Honor Discord server, and Slenders, the content creator. We were having fun, we were great in our own ways, and we did pretty well for some random dumbasses that just joined the tournament. It was called Team Freeze, which was pretty funny because each of our emblems were goods that you could find in the refrigerator. Mine was a glass of beer. After a few months the team had to disband, and I was a free agent, completely stunned by the amazing try-harding competitiveness that I had no idea about when I was on console. Then I met a guy named Lucifer Jr., who we will be calling Lucy for this video. It was my first experience as being in someone else's team. It was great. We were not the best, but we did pretty well against the best. We were actually on a great roll when I think about it, improving with every scrim. But one of our teammates had been offered a spot from another team, which he did the best by taking it since we were not the most organized organization, and always had a changing fourth player anyways. At that time I was also struggling in real life, did not have the best mood to give my all to the game, also had the university be face to face again, so I stopped as well. After a year and a half of what might not even be considered truly competitive, I took a break from the game. But when I was in Team Hellions with Lucy, I became a coach in For Honor Trials and Dojo Discord channel, which we will be getting into more detail towards the end of this video. So I was never really completely apart from For Honor. Even played by myself from time to time, taught new players about For Honor. People that I know personally or not, it did not matter. I loved teaching, experienced or not, I did the best to help who wanted to be better. This is what I also do in this channel, in a way. And this is why I am making this video as well, to both learn myself and teach you guys. Now that you know who I am, let's move to the second part of the video. For the interviews, I had 5 different questions and asked the same to everyone. 1. What do you generally think about Medjay? 2. What does a hero need to achieve in order to be considered in a competitive team? 3. What role can Medjay have in a team setup? 4. Do you think Medjay will be used in the competitive scene, and if so, how often? And 5. What changes do you think he will need in order to be more viable without being considered overpowered? Nature and Thought Mind suggested me that I would go speak with Antonio, the best duelist and one of the best players in game, which I did, but we will be saving that for later in the video. The reason they suggested that is Antonio has been using Medjay lately in the scrim matches that they had. Saving the most detail to the last, let's take a look at the text responses I got to the questions I had. Let's start with Freeze, the content creator everyone loves. I will be voicing the answers myself. Missed opportunity. A stance switch hero could be really cool, but sadly we don't switch much. They've stuck with their initial design idea, but lean too far into it, which can be seen especially in X mode and how lackluster it is. I'll let the comp players answer that, but at the moment it's stupid ganks and teamfight viability. If a character can fill these roles, it can be considered viable. He's a team fighter through and through, and his grab does work as a gank. This leads a bit into force already. The damage is quite high on the character because of how damage is linked to the attack speed, which, combined with the hyper armor, allows him to kinda recklessly swing away in fights and often come out ahead, because of how much damage the heavies do. He'll be used if we keep the Conquest format. In second comps, a maybe, and in third comps I can definitely see him picked a lot. I don't think he beats out any of the top 5, not even close, even for players that really want to make him work. X mode needs to be buffed. Staff mode is criticized for its damage and hyper armor, but it all falls in line and nerfing staff will make the character quite useless. X's biggest problem is its range / hitboxes, combined with the single dodge timing on most moves. Let me explain what the Conquest format is that Freeze talked about briefly, since it is a new change in how the matches are played in tournaments. Basically, to advance in the brackets, you play a best of 3 game with the team you are matched against, a best of 5 in the finals, all on different maps. If you win a match against your opponents, you have to change your team composition completely. Meaning that if for example you have won a match with a composition of JJ, Raider, Shinobi and Shugoki, you cannot use these heroes in the next match you have against that team in that bracket. Let's keep on with the interviews. Blitz, playing in the North America region in Team Otohatki, AHK for short, and also a coach in For Honor Trials and Dojo, gave me these answers. Medjay is pretty good in 2v2s, meh in 1v1s, okay in 4v4s, probably high B in 4s, high A in 2s, and mid to high B in 1s. A hero needs to really be either very good in a specific area and decent in the others, or very good in every area. Team fighter. Probably not in tournaments, maybe in scrims as a fun pick or something. A lot of range and hitbox buffs to X stance. Another text response I got was from Rippy, another professional player from the NA region, playing in Team Killing Service, TKS for short. He is also a coach in the Trials and Dojo. Good character overall, very oppressive in team fights when in staff stance, especially if you don't have much to deal with him. Being better than the other alternatives in most aspects, team fights, ganks, etc. Or bring something that other characters don't bring while being good in most aspects. Example, Warlord remains a good character despite his kit lacking in some areas because all of his feats are very good. Great at teamfighting, will be a damage dealer, a bit like Raider or JJ, except he's not as versatile as those two. No one can outrate that character really. Also a good ganker with his staff bash that can apply debuff with tier 2, and huge damage output even though the staff bash can be a bit hard to set up at times. I believe he'd be used a lot in Conquest format, but he isn't good enough to make it in the top 4 in Dominion. Make his X mod more effective overall. Example, his bash is only 9 damage. Improve the flow between both stances. Reduce his staff mod damage slightly on chain heavies, maybe speed up too. Buff the bomb tier 4. Maybe reduce some of the hitboxes light to avoid them being confirmed externally after landing a heavy in a teamfight, or at least make it more positioning specific. We can already see a pattern forming here from the 3 people that we got responses from. Out of the 3, all of them complained about X mod being basically useless, and that Medjay is mostly used with the staff mod for team fighting. Let's check what the EU professionals Normie and Antonio have to say. And after that we will have the head of competitive For Honor subreddit, founder of For Honor Trials and Dojo, and a moderator for countless For Honor events, TheFilthySpaniard, have to say about Medjay. Normie is the last text response we have, so let's check his answers and then go with Antonio and Span after that. Normie is considered the best 4v4 player in the competitive scene for a long time now, and he is playing in the team Minimeister with other amazing players such as Clutchmeister, Antonio 0075 and Mr. Living. He has been playing competitively since season 10 and is still going on strong. Great idea for a character, executed poorly, however easily fixable with simple changes. In today's current meta, there are 3 things that determine a character's viability: ganks, teamfights, and feats. A character usually has to have 2 of the 3 minimum to be considered good. Example, Kong has great teamfights and good ganks but no feats. Shinobi has amazing ganks, but is mid at teamfights and feats. A budget Raider or JJ, highly dangerous in any teamfight and good ganks due to stupid high damage output. He's in fact already used a lot in 2v2s as it's his best mode, and also in second or third team comps as a second JJ. The devs aim for each of the 2 stances to have a major downside, however for the hero to be truly usable that gap needs to be closed a little. Make transitioning stances less dangerous, and above all make his X stance have real hitboxes. His X stance is currently strictly 2-dimensional. You sometimes need an unblockable in a teamfight, but you have no range or hitbox on it, so why use it the way it is now? Also damage nerfs for staff stance. This is what Normie had to say about Medjay. And now let's go into call interviews. I will try to leave them as uncut as possible so we can truly understand their point, but I will not be adding subtitles to the voiced interviews because then it would take not days but weeks to finish the video. Let's start with what Antonio thinks. I want to ask you, Antonio, who are you and which team do you play for?
Alright, hello everyone. I am part of the team called Minimeisters. We are currently the best team in the game in 4v4, which includes me, Clashmeister, Normie, and Living. I'm also considered the best 1v1 and 2v2 player in the game right now. And yes, this is my description so far. I also do stream sometimes on Twitch to do educational content, and this is just my description.
So I will start with the first question, and it will be, what do you generally think about Medjay?
Overall, as a character in 2v2s and 4v4s, he's a great character, very well designed for teamfights. His feats are very good. I would say feats-wise, he's at 7.5 out of 10. He could have been better on some things, but overall, he's a very well designed character. He's like, as I said in my 2v2 tier list, I think he's a top 8 tier character. I think he's even better than JJ in 2v2s, due to the fact that like he does a lot of damage and his hitboxes are way better than like any other character we have so far in the roster. His gank is also pretty solid. His tier 2 can be very well used in 4v4s to apply you a lot of damage on targets that you want to gank with his neutral bash. The only thing I don't like about the character so far is the fact that his X stance is very weak. in both teamfight scenarios and 1v1 scenarios, due to the fact that his bash has not a lot of tracking. He does have a good chase tool, but he lacks a lot of things, such as tracking with his lights. His side heavies sometimes do not track, and his dodge attack has no iframes in extent, which can result in you eating damage for trying to use your dodge attack to defend from mix-up like Raider, and that affects his position in like Y1s a lot. In fact, in my opinion, Medjay stands in a very low B tier for Y1s, maybe mid B tier, but he's not very good.
Oh boy. You answered like some of the other questions a bit as well. That's great. Oh,
I mean,
that was like the longest explanation I got for the general thoughts about Medjay. You really have been playing him.
I mean, I did play a lot of Medjay since release. I have played a little bit.
Yeah, I realized.
I'm the only one that considers Medjay a really good character, by the way. If
Yeah,
you ask everyone is
exactly.
gonna be like,
That's the reason why I like actually want to make this video, because even myself, I feel like Medjay is a fucking disappointment. Like, no joke.
for what reason?
He looks cool, but he's lacking, and I will ask you about that as well really soon. That is just my opinion, and we are all here to learn from the Medjay Meister. The second question will be, what does a hero need to achieve in order to be considered in a competitive team?
Well, this depends a lot on the meta, it depends a lot on the character itself, it depends a lot on what mechanics he has. It's not something that can be defined with one word. It's, for example, I'm gonna make an example, Warmonger and Griffin. Warmonger and Griffin are two characters that have been in the meta, have had their spot, and sadly got replaced very early. Warmonger didn't get replaced as early as Griffin. Griffin got literally replaced even before the tournament even started, because he got nerfed very fucking heavily because of the community blindfolded gaming. But like, that's unfortunate, it happens. But both characters in the end were played for their feats, okay? But then we have characters like Shinobi that are played because of their broken ganks. Then we have characters like Raider that are played because of insane teamfights and insane 1v1 pressure. We have also characters like JJ that are played for their insane teamfight pressure, and also because of their broken feats. I'm saying broken, but like they're very well designed. Like they're not broken at all. It's just that the overall things that you need is, first of all, feats. And if you lack of feats, unless you have a really fucking well designed toolkit, it's gonna be hard for you to join the meta. For example, Conqueror, right? Clutchmaster in our team plays Conqueror. Conqueror has very stupid feats. Like, his feats are very, very weak. You should not, like, if we're talking about only feats wise, he should not even be considered in the meta. He should be probably like a C tier character for the feats he has. But he has a very good stall. He can stall very well with his toolkit. He has a very good option select with his dodge bash. He has very good offense in 1v1s, especially with no flash. People struggle to react to his offense without flash. And so far, my team played Conqueror. Touchmaster played Conqueror in my team, and we have successfully won majority of the tournaments. Where we played Conqueror, of course, because in some we did just play, meta characters like top 4. But yeah, like overall, it's a combination of good toolkit and feats, and yeah, that's it.
Okay, third question. What role can Medjay have in a team setup?
That's a good question. He can go from being the ganker if you don't have the Shinobi around, from being the top 10 team fighters world history, in the meaning of like, he's the one that goes around with his staff mode trading like crazy. Like, he's like a raider, right? A raider is the one that trades a lot in team fights. At least he's supposed to be the one that trades a lot in team fights. But I feel like Medjay does the same thing but better, because he has instant hyper armor as well, but he also has hyper armor lights. He doesn't have unblockables, but he has finisher heavies that have a huge hitbox and do a lot of damage. You don't want to be fucking hindered by that. And plus, with his proc of the tier 1, like the damage buff on the tier 1, he is very, very fucking scary. You don't want to, like, even characters like with cancer recoveries, like Pirate and even Orochi, have to be scared about going cancel recovery on a Medjay, because the Medjay can punish the cancel recovery with a chain light. So for example, if he does a chain heavy on you and you cancel recovery and you trade with a light, right? You hit him on the hyper armor with a light, he can chain light to trade with your dodge light, and he's always gonna win the trade because his chain light is gonna do way more damage than your dodge attack, no matter what. Especially if he has the tier 1 proc. So he's like a very heavy team fighter. So he's specialized in 2v2s and team fights. He doesn't succeed a lot at all in in 1v2 scenarios due to the fact that he has to switch between X mode and staff mode, but he lacks that X mode pressure that will will make him benefit from having good hitboxes or externally, and good like good good tracking on his moves. Like his bash has very weak tracking, in my opinion, considering that we have characters like not Orochi, but like characters like BP or Conqueror that have a way better tracking on their bash. And yeah, I think a little buff on his X mode will probably make him even better than what he is right now. And he's already a good character. He will just need this to be even better.
The next question is going to be, do you think Medjay will be used in the competitive scene, and if so, how often?
Well, I'm the one that brought the character into the meta, so who else can say more than me? I do believe that people are underestimating the character a lot, and I have proved it multiple times playing scrims with him. I have proved it in 2v2 scrims as well. The character has a lot of potential. He just needs a little bit of practice, a little bit of understanding. And when I first saw the character on the private server, right, I was like, this character has more to offer. Like, these people are not showing the true potential of this character. And as soon as I got my hands on the character, I understood what the point of the character was. So don't like every character, don't expect that what you see from a showcase is what the character is in reality, because Medjay is the proof that the character is not bad, or it's not what it looks like. The character is very complex. You need to understand how to use him in teamfights without just going full monkey mode and spam buttons, because you're just gonna get blown up. You need to understand when to trade and how to trade. You have hitboxes that you need to understand how to use, which is a good thing that this character has. This character is gonna make the skill ceiling even bigger, because you need to understand how to use your hitboxes with this character. Because this character can be a very strong team fighter, but also a very strong troller, because he can fucking hit your teammates and you don't even fucking realize, and he hits a lot. He does 8 damage for friendly, with friendly fire, and it's fucking a lot. Not a lot of characters do 8 damage with their chain heavies. So yeah, very good character, very solid, definitely meta. Not top 4, but since we're talking about the conquest here for Into the Fray, he's definitely in a second comp. You can play him in a second comp very comfortably, and
I'm guessing he will be one of the first picks in the second comp.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm talking for myself. Then there are gonna be people that prefer other characters, which is okay. I'm very happy for it, because that means the roster is bigger for the competitive picks. But in my opinion, I would be running Medjay if I was playing in the tournament, and the Medjay character was not banned.
And my last question for you will be, what changes do you think he will need in order to be more viable without being considered overpowered?
I mean, you see, I think Ubisoft made a really good job with this character, because they made it so the character looked weak, but instead is very strong. And this is something they failed to do with Pirate. In fact, Pirate was supposed to be a very weak 1v1er, but a very strong team fighter. But in reality, it turned out to be a very strong 1v1er for low level. And, that's it, because people just worry about the top unblockable and, the work the plank makes up. But the character is more, is more than that. You need to consider the teamfight potential of a character. You don't have to worry about 1v1s. 1v1s are not competitive game mode. But let's talk about what makes broken and what not makes broken Medjay. Medjay in staff mode, I think is perfect. I don't think Medjay needs to be touched. Maybe the only thing they need to touch is lower the chain finisher damage from 34 to 32, and the chain heavies should be from 32, I think they are right now, or 30 to 27, to just lower the damage, in order that when he procs tier 1, the damage per tier 1, he gets the same values as he does with these as he does right now with his normal heavies, because right now he does a little bit too much damage. 40 damage is a little bit too much. He kinda needs a little bit of, a little bit of a nerf, but like just damage wise, the moveset, so like overall it's good. In X mode, more hitboxes externally for like side heavies, and his dodge attack needs high frames, because not in the fucking universe I'm not gonna fucking accept a character with no high frames on a dodge attack, because it literally removes all the purpose of having a dodge attack. If I just have to use a dodge attack to punish bashes, what's like, there is no depth to the move. Like, I cannot use it to mind game, I cannot use it to do anything, because it's useless against any kind of move. And last thing is buff a little bit the tracking of the bash. I do believe the bash is a little bit, it doesn't feel like it tracks enough. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like the character is stuck in place. He has like a certain amount of meters he has to reach, and once he reaches that fucking limit, it's over. He cannot go forward, which is pretty upsetting, and I think should be fixed. Also, I mean, the damage overall is fine in next mode. I don't think he needs anything else. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, honestly. I mean, I would prefer the chain lights to be 11 damage instead of 9 damage, but I don't think they're gonna touch that kind of damage, honestly, because, people are gonna be crying about Medjay doing too much damage. So yeah, I think like more side boxes and like better tracking and high frames on touch attack will be a good solution to buff the character without making him broken at all. Just buff a little bit where you need.
Thanks, man. You're like the first and I think the only one that said he needs a nerf on his heavy damages.
I mean, I don't like nerfing characters too much, but like he does need a like 2 or 3, 4 damage nerf on his heavies.
That you are such a curveball, like, not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm considering all the options, like considering like this. But like overall, like I don't think the character is gonna be affected at all if he gets like those 4 damage nerf. Like, he's still gonna have huge boxes. He's gonna be an insane team fighter, and like nothing changes, because if he gets his tier 1, he's still gonna do the same amount of damage as he does right now with his neutral without the tier 1. The tier 1 needs to be something that you want to use to add damage, not to melt people. That's everything. Like, people underestimate the fact that like if a character has no unblockables, the character is like useless, but that's not the case. Medjay is the proof that you don't need unblockables to be viable. So yeah.
Oh, thanks so much, man, for everything, for your explanations in very much detail, by the way. Yeah, they were right about telling me to reach out to you, not gonna lie.
I mean, I'm the only one that fucking experiments with the character so far. I didn't see a single team experimenting with. I mean, I understand why, because they're practicing going to the fray. But
exactly, that's what I was gonna say. Because I've asked a couple, and like the people that I've asked from, I think I've asked people from 3-4 different teams, and they said that they are not using Medjay, so they don't have any opinions on him yet.
Yeah, it's understandable.
But hearing all these things from you really like changes the perspective of like everything.
Yeah, I mean, there is always a difference between like matchmaking and competitive in using viability of a character. Like, it's obvious. That's how every game is, I guess.
Yep.
Which is the fun part about games anyway. So yeah, thank you very much for the interview.
No, thank you, man. You're awesome. Hello, Spaniard.
Hello.
Can you tell me who you are and what you do in the For Honor community?
All right. Well, I am the Filthy Spaniard. I am a general dog's body of the comp community. Just help out with a bunch of different things. Most notably, recently, I've been working on the Into the Fray tournaments in Fray 2022 with my colleague Nutella, who you've probably also heard of. We were very fortunate to be on the Warriors Den to talk about that and the for the Medjay release. And then I moderate the comp sub. I maintain a bunch of resources. Just I do a bunch of little things. Oh, sorry if I put that on stream mode so you don't get plinks. You're not hearing those, are you?
A little bit. But it's fine.
Okay,
it's
well,
fine.
let me just set that on. Sorry. I need to set myself on stream mode. I hadn't really thought of that. My bad. Right, there we go. So yeah, I do a bunch of different things. I just like to help out and be knowledgeable, I guess. Help do a lot. We do the dojo, the teaching stuff. Yeah. I'm not a very good player though, so I don't know. Take my opinions with a pinch of salt.
You're above average, I can tell.
To be fair, the average For Honor player isn't hard to be much better than. Won't lie.
Well, my first question for you is going to be, what do you generally think about Medjay, as in a character design perspective, I would say?
I mean, I like his visuals. I think he's got a great, cool style, and it's great to have an Egyptian character in the game. I love the idea of transforming weapons in general. I'm a massive Bloodborne fan. It's my favorite game ever. So transforming weapons are like my jam. I am not a giant fan of the execution on him. I feel there are a lot of problems with him, but mostly it's to do with his lack of flow when you're playing the character. It's very much you're in one mode, and then if you like use one mode in one situation and one mode in the other situation, so the axes in 1v1s and staff in team fights, and there is never shall the two meet in the middle, and that is disappointing because the fun thing about transforming weapons in Bloodborne is that you can use them mid combo and adapt quickly, but with Medjay, unfortunately, it's very hard to switch between the stances without making yourself very vulnerable. It's basically just doesn't work basically for that kind of play style.
The second one is gonna be, what does a hero need to achieve in order to be considered in a competitive team?
That is a very potentially a long-winded answer to that question because there are many, many factors. But the primary one, I would say, is being a strong team fighter at the moment, at least in the current meta. But being a strong team fighter and being capable of ganking, and normally having some degree of 1v1 presence. So in that sense, Medjay actually is potentially viable because he is quite a good team fighter in a certain role, which is to say he doesn't open up opponents at all in a team fight, but he is very much he's got good peel because he's got very long range in his lights. His zone hits around him. He basically shuts down team fights with his big sweeping attacks and hyper armor essentially. But has kind of, I don't know, I think he's got I think it's kind of polarized. If you had characters like, I'm expanding off into Medjay, aren't I? But maybe I'll keep that into next. Focus more on what the hero need to achieve in order to be considered in a competitive team. Well, they need to have good feats. They need to be a good team fighter. They need to be capable of ganking. Ideally, they need to be capable of initiating and maintaining ganks, but they can also just be good at adding damage to ganks in theory. So, and they also need to be potentially good at stalling and 1v1s, but to a lesser extent. Yeah, basically.
Nice.
If you want a quick summary, at least. We did do an entire podcast on what makes a character a good team fighter, and essentially what makes them a good pick for a competitive team, with Barak and Setmix and Freeze, which is on the Dojo channel if you're interested. I would recommend that if you want to get really in depth on what makes a good team fighter and what parts of kits are viable. If you want, the final thing is the formula is P equals SM times O plus D. So peace mod.
I'm not saying that because I sometimes help you guys in the dojo, but for real, the dojo content is the best content to learn from. It's amazing what you'll do.
Thank you very much. The difficulty is it's very long form, so whilst it's very good to get in-depth stuff, I think it's good to get in-depth stuff, we have difficulty reaching a wide audience because of how long and podcast type things require quite a lot of time and attention, so that makes it makes sense that they're difficult. It's always a balance, you know. You get the content creators who make shorter, more digestible educational stuff. Like Marco Yo does amazing work, and then Freeze does like more middle length type things, and then the dojo we tend to do really long form, in depth stuff. But you know, it requires more of a investment to get into it, as it were. But thank you, and I appreciate all the times you've come along to coach as well. It's been very nice. Yeah, but if
I
you're
try to be
interested,
there.
I guess this could be a little plug. But
Yeah,
anybody
go for
who's
it.
interested in learning more or interested in teaching more, come along to the dojo, and we can get you a coach role, and you know,
Yep.
get help either help you or get you helping people to improve.
And you can find the invite link in the description. The next question is going to be, what role can Medjay have in a team setup?
So I mean, at the moment we're playing the competitive scene is using the conquest format, which requires more variety in characters. So I think people are looking at using Medjay in team compositions, potentially in the second composition. I think he is quite a strong team fighter in a particular role. So he works like Kensei does, but more so, because Kensei doesn't really have any opener of their own, but has great dodge attacks with really big hitboxes, chain into hyper armor, has really good peel from like mostly Kensei zone and lights, and Medjay is pretty much like that, but more so because you can carry on chaining after your dodge attack. But that's basically how Medjay opens in team fights. You wait for an opportunity and you side dodge attack off target to get into your chains, and then just throw big sweeping blockables or feint them or not on blockables, just big sweeping high power attacks, and he does stupidly high damage, and that's pretty much it. So in a way, he's kind of simple. He's like a better Kensei in team fights, I think. He also has strong ganking tools in his staff bash. It's very similar to Goki's hug, and it's set up in the same kind of ways. You block stun for it, or you time guard break, and he can infinite that with pretty much anybody, because he just hug staff, confirms it heavy, then he goes into his next staff one. It's quite bad in terms of revenge feed, but because he's got the damage buff feat on his tier 1 when he gets killed with axe form, and he's got the defense debuff in tier 2 from the staff bash on the staff bash, that makes his ganks really scary. And he can chain off a landed bash into his chain heavies, which do, again, like I said, very high damage. So it's really easy to do staff bash, ally heavy, then ally feints their next heavy into Medjay, into a guard break to confirm the Medjay heavy, and that just does stupid damage. So he's really good in a ganking as well, but he tends to need to have it set up for him, because he doesn't really initiate ganks. Like I said, he has no openers in staff form, and he's also, I don't think he's very good at anti-ganking either, because everything he has is you with Medjay, you cannot, in staff mode, you cannot really attack the person you're locked onto directly, because you have 500 ms lights, 600 ms zone, and that's it. And they're not enhanced lights either from neutral. So when you are trying to anti-gank with him, like you have to basically like target swap dodge attacks and stuff, and if your opponent is just waiting to let you do that, then it's very easy to counter. So I don't know, I think he's rather lacking in those modes. You know, he can't anti-gank very well, except, you know, if your opponents are dumb and trade into his hyper armor. And his staff mode, he can't 1v1. And the axe mode 1v1 is very underwhelming as well, in my opinion. Yes, he has an opener in axe mode, but it does very low damage. It's only the 9 damage bash. The unblockable is hard to get to after the opener. You only get to it off the heavies or the zone. So yeah, I think he's axe mode in particular leaves a lot to be desired, and I think that is his biggest downfall. Like, 'cause staff mode is Medjay can be used in teams because staff mode is so good at the particular style of team fighting that he has. But the axe mode is just not really usable, in my opinion. It's not. It doesn't compare to the 1v1 prowess of most top tier characters, even the ones that are good at team fighting. Like, I think JJ is a better 1v1er than Medjay, and JJ is meant to be the team fight character, you know. Yeah.
Thank you. The fourth question that I have for you is going to be, do you think Medjay will be used in the competitive scene, and if so, how often?
I think he will be when currently he's banned into the fray because it's too new, but after that I think he will be used. In particular, I think he'll be used in second compositions, because when it comes to like really strong team fighters with really big sweeping attacks at the moment, you've got Raider, JJ, and Medjay can fit in that niche as well. We're like I said, a stronger version of Kensei, in my opinion. I think he'll also be used in twos, because Kensei was always such an amazing twos character, and he's basically works better than Kensei. So I think he'll be a quite strong twos character. I guess Shaolin's also got really big sweeping attacks nowadays. So, yeah, I think he will be used, but it's a weird one, because the things that make him good are things that require like fairly good fundamentals of the game. Like Kensei, sort of like especially in team fights, you need to be able to notice opportunities, you need to be able to peel very well, and you need to have good reads in order to know when you actually can go for trades. So those are things that give him a bit of a quite high skill ceiling, I think. Like, or skill floor is the right term. Whereas JJ is easy to get to work. You just throw unblockables and dodge around forever. Same with Pirate is Pirate and Raider considered very easy to get to work, and I think Medjay will be lacking compared to other teamfight characters at lower skill ceilings, but higher tier players might be able to get more use out of him.
And the last question that I have for you is, what changes do you think he will need in order to be more viable without being considered overpowered?
So he probably needs I think he needs a number of changes, mostly to improve axe mode and improve the flow between modes. For example, so I've been a proponent of saying that if he could he could dodge cancel out of his stance change and go directly from the stance change into his chain attacks. So you could go from, let's say if the stance change counted as a heavy opener, for example, you could switch staff from stance mode and go into the UBs of axe mode or the 400 ms lights, which both viable offense, and that would give him some chain offense in staff mode. And then similarly, being able to switch into the sweeping attacks from the staff mode would allow axe mode to be used a bit more safely in team fight scenarios where you need offense. Axe mode in particular, he needs to have much better tracking on his chain heavies in particular. I also think, I mean, they kind of seemed like they should have been undodgeable, because he's got a bash that he's got chain bash and a chain heavy, but the chain heavy doesn't catch the bash. You have to feint a guard break. Personally, I think I would rather them be unblockable, lower damage, and have better tracking, so that they can catch dodges on different timings instead of having them be dodgeable. And also, they need to have a little bit. They have slightly better hitboxes. I can see why they have some really terrible hitboxes, because they want this character to be his offense to only be 1v1s, but that is not a good way of doing things, if you ask my opinion, because, like I said, he doesn't really have offense on the people he's locked on to in staff mode, so he needs to be able to attack people. Another potential thing he could have is a chain attack that is a transform attack. For example, you can imagine having staff. If you did like a chain zone, a zone in chain, for example, could do a split into the 2 axes, an unblockable attack, which counts as a heavy opener, or like a top, for example, a top attack. And in axe mode, it would go into a big sweeping hyper armored attack, both of which should be feintable, so you could carry on. And the other options would be soft feints into opposite side lights. I feel like his chain heavies could have soft feints into opposite side 400 m lights in both modes, personally. Then you have a bit of offense in staff mode. But he would then also probably need to have some nerfs to his damage in staff mode, because it is kind of ridiculous, really, in how favorably he can trade, especially when he has his tier 1 damage boost activated, or damage buffs from other characters. And there's one very specific change which I think he needs, which is on his chain and finisher heavies in axe mode, in staff mode. I think they need to be 966 milliseconds instead of 1000 milliseconds, because currently, if you're in light hit stun and you press and you immediately buffer a light attack against him, your light will hit at the same time as his heavy does, and you trade, but it knocks you out of the it hits exactly the same frame, and so you don't actually get any hyper armor on it, and it bounces you off. Another option would be, I guess, making them 1033 milliseconds, which makes them even slower, but it also means that would also work the same way. You trade rather than being trading on the same frame. But I prefer being slightly faster because, as I said, he's already got his chain offenses in staff form is already kind of like unimpressive on the opponent he locked onto. I also don't like any 500 chain lights in general. I don't like them. I think they're pointless because they don't really work very well against the person you're locked onto. If they have decent reactions, so that would be something I'd like to see changed on every character, to be honest. Either make them 400 ms or make them slower with something else that allows them to attack, like a guard switch halfway through or something. But that's just me bitching about 500 ms attacks, and I'm going to do any opportunity I'm going to get. I will complain about 500 ms light attacks because they just are pointless, if you ask my opinion, and very divisive across the community. Like, people complain about if you look at like the characters that people complain about light spam the most of, all the characters with chain 500 ms attacks, and weirdly the characters with 400 ms lights, the lights that work better at, or more consistently across the skill spectrum, don't get complained about in terms of light spam nearly as much. You don't see people complaining about Nisha light spam or PK light spam because they do less damage to make up for the fact they're faster, and that's what it should be for all characters, if you ask my opinion. Because then you have lower damage, so you can eat more lights if you're getting spammed, and then they actually work against players who have good reactions or standard reactions.
Great, thank you so much, Spaniard. What do you want to be called, by the way?
Spaniard's fine.
Right.
Spaniel is in Uplay because it got changed for being like it got reported or something, as an offensive name, and it got changed. And it meant I didn't get my honor and glory ornament back in the day as well, which is very upsetting. especially because they said my name on stream like before this happened as well. So it's funny that it got changed to Filthy Spaniel. But then again, my childhood dog was a Springer Spaniel, so I quite like Spaniel as well.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, he was a good boy.
Thank you so much. And if you have any more things to plug, you can do it right now.
The Into the Fray tournaments, I don't know if they will, when this comes out, if they will still be going on. There'll be there's the PC and PlayStation round 2 on the weekend of the 27th, 28th. That's PlayStation on 27th, PC on 28th. And then there's the Pro PC League on the 3rd and 4th of September. We're going to have some amazing casters. got Norgors and Cobra Dominator and Vivid Naz and Normie and Freeze. It's all gonna be a lot of awesome stuff. Come to the dojo, Discord dojo, to level up your For Honor skills. Check the info hub, which is my spreadsheet baby. Comp sub as well. I was coming to ask things. I've got loads of things to plug because I'm involved in so much stuff. So you probably shouldn't ask me that question because I should be giving links for
Yeah,
hours and
it's
hours.
okay. I will list them all. Don't worry.
Oh, I remember one more thing I want to mention about Medjay. In
Mhm.
terms of things I'd like changed, I absolutely loathe his tier 4 feat. I think it's terrible. It's terrible design. Like the bomb is rubbish. It's just bad. And then the throwing axe is a nightmare. Is of the design because everybody loves like 50 damage off-screen projectiles. So let's make one that's 75 damage when it's got damage, or 77 with a damage buff. It's terrible. I would much rather it have been some kind of individual buff or a team-wide buff in the different modes. Yeah, I really, really, really hate that feat. I mean, it's good. The axe version of it is good, but it's so boring. Like, once you've seen somebody deleted with an axes, or you've been deleted with it once, then that's it. That's as fun as it's ever going to be. So I'd much rather it have been something different. But it is how it is. The bomb is really bad though. Like,
This just
bad.
turns into roasting Medjay's design.
Sorry, I just realised you can cut that in and put it in later. Don't tell anybody you cut anything. And put that in number 4. Yeah, no, but the rest of the Medjay design is cool. I like the fact that his feats have 2 different modes, and I like his aesthetic, and I like the
Yeah, and it's like
switching in theory.
it's a first in For Honor as well, like having 2 stances, different modes. Like you can kind
Well,
of say that
yeah,
Highlander has that, but it
Yeah.
works differently. You have to hold on, but with that one you just press a button and then you're a completely different moveset.
Absolutely, and I mean, like that's clearly what they were going for in making them be essentially 2 characters in one. But
Mhm.
by doing that, they've just made 2 slightly mediocre characters, or 1 okay character, and then 1 mediocre character. And because you can't switch them back and forth in any safe and reliable way, they don't cover each other's weaknesses. So you can't chain. Staff form has no offense, and axe form is axe form.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries.
It means a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, now that we have listened what the people that play this game for a living had to say, let's recap what we have learned about Medjay today. Basically, Medjay is a great idea for a hero, one that we have never seen before, and I can only hope that the idea of switching modes does not get thrown away like they did to Nusha's trap mechanic. Apparently he's a pretty good team fighter. Him lacking unblockables does not make him a bad hero in his staff mode, but rather different. But like everybody said in this video, the Axe mod sucks. The idea is great, but the way that it is implemented feels clunky. The Axe mod is terribly weak and there are almost no instances that you will be using it. Like, it has a goddamn dodge attack without the iframes, which is literally why you would do a dodge attack. On the other side though, especially with what Antonio said, and as you saw throughout this video with me trying out Medjay by myself in matchmaking, the staff mod feels pretty solid. Can we say that Ubisoft somewhat succeeded in making a hero that is both balanced but amazing in great hands? For me, no. I still think Medjay was like an experiment with hero design. A new player cannot play the hero, and for him to be effective in higher level of gameplay, the player must be literally the best. And apparently we will be seeing him used at least in team minimasters. What do you guys think? Do you believe that we will be seeing Medjay in competitions after he's unbanned for the next set of qualifiers? If you have made it this far, let me know. I am planning to make a video like this one for every hero release from now on. Your feedback will be greatly useful about the style and the editing of the video as well. I will see you in the next one. Much love.